In this video, I'm going to show you how to factor a trinomial when your front term is 1. And so you're going to see 1x squared plus a linear term and a constant term. And now in my class for the last couple days, we've been learning these puzzles called the Big X puzzle. And so what I want to do is write that Big X puzzle at the top of your notebook, and it will follow this format. So your trinomial will have an a in front of your x squared term, meaning a coefficient, and your linear term will have a coefficient, and then you're going to have a number term called a constant term. So a is the coefficient, the number in front of, that's what coefficient is, of your x squared, and b is the coefficient of your linear term x, and c is your constant term. And the Big X puzzle looks like this. The a times the c, those two numbers multiplied together will go at the top of your Big X, and the b will go at the bottom. And our goal is to find two numbers. You're going to find two numbers, and I don't know what they're going to be yet. But those two numbers will multiply to make a times c, so that's why this says multiply, so multiply here. And they will add to make the b number here, and that's going to help you find your factors. So I'm going to show you an example of what that will look like, and I'll read my rules here first. So when factoring a trinomial where a equals 1, we use what's called the Big X method, and that's what this looks like here. You put the constant from the polynomial in the top of the Big X, and that works because a times c, you're going to have 1 times that number, so it's going to be a times c at the top, or just the c because that's 1. 1 times c will make c anyway. And the coefficient of the middle term, b, will go at the bottom of your Big X. So then what we're going to do is look for two numbers. So that's why I wrote the number sign here. Look for two numbers that multiply to give you the a times c and add to give you the number at the bottom of your Big X. And so here's what our a, b, and c are going to be for my first trinomial. So my a is 1, my b is 8, and my c is 15. So this is ax squared plus bx plus c. So if you don't see a number out there, it's going to be 1. And here's what our Big X is going to look like. A times c at the top and b at the bottom. Well, 1 times 15 is 15, and 8 goes at the bottom. So now our goal is to find two numbers that at the same time multiply to make 15 and add to make 8. Can you think of what those two numbers will be? So those numbers would be, if they multiply to make 15 and add to make 8, it will be a 5 and a 3. Now those two numbers here, the 5 and the 3, one of your factors will get the positive 5, and one factor will get your 3. And so it will look like this: x plus a 5 and x plus the 3. And that's how you factor trinomial, because an x times an x is going to get you that x squared. And now the two linear terms, 3x and 5x, so your outside and your insides are going to make 8x, because 3 plus 5 is going to get you 8. And then 5 times 3 is going to get you the 15 here if you were to distribute your polynomials together. So let's try a couple more examples. I'm going to do 6 for this video. So here, my a equals 1, my b is equal to 11, and the c is equal to 24. And here's my Big X. A times c goes at the top, and b goes at the bottom. 1 times 24 is 24. And 11 goes at the bottom. And now what we want to find is two numbers that multiply to make 24, and they add to make 11. So multiply to make the top, add to make the bottom. Can you think of those two numbers? Multiply to make 24, add to make 11. It's going to be an 8 and a 3. And so one factor is going to be an x with the number 8 that you found, and the other factor is going to be the 3, the other number that you found. So what I'm going to do is just show you real quick. If you distribute, I'm going to show you to check. x times x gets you x squared. X times 3 gets you 3x. 8 times x gets you 8x. And 8 times 3 gets you 24. And if you combine your middle terms, we will get the polynomial that we started with, which is x squared plus 11x plus 24. Isn't that so cool? I think it's so cool. Anyway, keep going. All right, my a here is 1, my b here is negative 11, and my c here is 24. Very similar to this one, but notice how the sign is different. So notice how we're going to have something different happen here. So my a times c goes at the top, my b goes at the bottom. 1 times 24 is still 24. But now notice I have a negative 11 here. So my two numbers that go on the sides here, on the left and right, have to multiply to make 24, positive 24, and add to make negative 11. This one might take you a couple minutes to think. How can we have something similar? So instead of adding to be positive 11, they're going to add to make negative 11. Watch this. Negative 8 and negative 3. Negative 8 minus 3 will get negative 11. And a negative times a negative will make a positive 24. So our factors are going to be now this time x minus 8 and an x minus 3. So that's just slightly more challenging because our sign changed in the middle. All right, let's keep going. I have 3 more examples here. All right, so again, my a equals 1, b here equals negative 6, and c equals 8. Our a times c goes at the top, so 1 times 8 is 8. My b goes at the bottom, which is negative 6. And so maybe I'm just going to write here, we want to multiply to make the top and add to make the bottom. So what two numbers multiply to make 8 and add to make negative 6 at the same time? A negative 4 and a negative 2. So one of my factor pairs is going to be the letter x with a negative 4, and the other one is going to be an x with a negative 2. And I'm just going to show you again that if you check, if we distribute, we'll have x squared minus 2x minus 4x plus 8. Is that what we started with? X squared minus 6x plus 8? It is. Very good. Okay, here's 2 more for this video. A equals 1, B is 2, and C is negative 15. So our big X, A times C goes at the top, and that's what we're multiplying to. And that's negative 15, because 1 times negative 15 is negative 15. B goes at the bottom, and this is what we're going to add to, and that's the number 2. What two numbers multiply to make negative 15, but when you add them together, you get a positive 2? A 5 and a negative 3. 5 minus 3 gets you 2, and 5 times negative 3 gets you 15. And so our factors are an x with a positive 5, because that was positive, and an x with a negative 3. All right, here's our last one. If A is equal to 1, B is equal to 9, and C is equal to negative 36, again for our big X, A times C, this is going to get you negative 36. 9, my middle term, the B term goes at the bottom. Again, we want to multiply to make the top, because there's that multiply dot just kind of to remind you. And then we're going to add to make the bottom. What two numbers multiply to make negative 36 and at the same time add to make 9? Can you think of them? A 12 and a negative 3. So our x plus 12 and our x minus 3 is how we make our factors. Again, you can double check your work, and so I'll show you that one more time to check. X times x gets you x squared. X times negative 3 is negative 3x. 12 times x is 12x, and 12 times negative 3 is negative 36. And now if I combine my middle terms, 12 minus 3 is 9x for my middle term, and this matches what we started with, so we factored correct.